This is a PowerPoint on weird Hearthstone archetypes. Starting with Demon Hunter, skipping Death Knight because there really isn't much to talk about. Demon Hunter, however, has Dormant. These are an assortment of cards that have come out recently that benefit incredibly well from your own minions being dormant. Magtheridon Unleash, of course, is the key factor of this sort of archetype. I'm actually a big fan of this. I hope we get more cards similarly to Magtheridon, where we have numerous cards that make our own minions go dormant, but we don't have very many minions, that benefit very well from being dormant. Magtheridon, of course, being the only one, but this is a very interesting style of cards that Blizzard could expand upon incredibly well. You can make so many different styles of cards of these dormant minions. They benefit incredibly well from red card being used offensively or defensively on your own minion. You can dormant your own Magtheridon to get 6 more damage additionally. It's very cool, and I actually like it quite a lot. Then, for Druid, I'm talking about Fruit Druid. Oh my lord, if you played Wild while Fruit Druid was playable, you want to die. So what happened was Blizzard made a change that made it so max mana isn't 10 for every class. You can only go to 10 mana for every class, not including Guff. But if you got temporary mana crystals, you could go above 10 mana with Floop's Gloop, almost exclusively, and the coin, I guess, Innervate as well, but mostly Floop's Gloop. So what you would do is you would Barnes to get Auctioneer out of your deck, and you would cycle through your deck incredibly fast, play your Floop's Gloop, then you would build your own large board with cards like Living Seeds, and then you would Solar Eclipse your Living Seeds to destroy your own board and destroy your opponent's board, gain a crazy amount of mana. I think it was maximum damage was 84 with this combo, and then because of Forbidden Fruit, spending all of your mana to gain attack. It was incredibly powerful. It got nerfed for obvious reasons, and it was incredibly degenerate if you ever played against it. You were losing on turn 3 some games if they high-rolled you. It was truly degenerate. Then in Hunter, we have Knuckles Hunter. If you don't know what this is, it's similar to Cleave Hunter, which was in Standard last expansion. You give Knuckles buffs from cards like Smuggler's Crate or any other kind of buff, and then give it Always Bigger Jormungand, give it Rush, use your True Aim Crescent to attack, things like that. Then Knuckles will punch into one minion because of its effect, and Always Bigger Jormungand, it's always going to kill this minion, and you can kill your opponent that way, and it's incredibly fun. Knuckles Hunter has been around for a long time. It's only gets better as time goes on, and with Always Bigger Jormungand's Revert, Knuckles Hunter will probably be playable again. It is a significant nerf to lose the mana nerf on Jormungand for a combo deck. It slows it down significantly to the point that you can't win some games. But Knuckles Hunter is truly fun if you've never played it. I have a video on it that's very, very old. It might even be from before Jormungand came out, but it's still a very fun deck. Then, for Mage, you have Grand Finale Mage. I love Grand Finale Mage. I talk about this deck all the time whenever I talk about Elementals and Mage. I love Grand Finale. This is a deck that was really only playable in Stormwind. I would say I never saw it in Alterac Valley, but it was a kind of niche playable standard deck where you play a lot of Elementals, and then you have Hot Streak, which came out in Stormwind, to discount your Grand Finale to 6 mana. Wish it could be 4, but you can't play 2 Hot Streaks in a row because they discount themselves. But you can have your Grand Finale for turn 6 or turn 5 on the coin, and you would get a bunch of 8/8s, and your opponent had a really hard time dealing with them, because dealing with 8/8s is very hard in this game. That's why you have so many giant decks that are just so strong all the time, and Grand Finale was no exception. Was the deck amazing? No. Was it playable? Oh, for sure. I wish that this card would get buffed so we could see this deck come back in some way, shape, or form. Personally, it's really awesome. I've spoken on it in the past that I want Grand Finale buffed, but that's just me. If you have played this deck before, you know how fun it is. It's so cool. It's genuinely so cool. Then for Paladin, I'm talking about Pure Paladin. Yes, Pure Paladin isn't necessarily weird, but that's more the fact that Pure Paladin was a good deck. If this were a bad archetype and a bad deck, it would have been easily on this list for people to talk about. But a lot of people think that an archetype has to be bad for it to be considered weird. Pure Paladin flips Hearthstone on its head. Usually, you want to be running neutral minions. Neutral minions are very powerful. And Pure Paladin doesn't want to do that. You're only running Paladin minions, so you're losing out on a lot of incredibly powerful cards, which means that a lot of these cards need to have incredibly powerful effects, which they do, for the most part. Preorder is incredibly powerful, it got nerfed. The Countess is incredibly powerful, somehow didn't get nerfed. Lightforge Zealot was very strong at the time, but, of course, as time goes on, these sort of cards get a little worse because neutrals get better and better and better. But if you put them as, a first set of a year expansion, they can work incredibly well due to the fact that you don't have as many cards to deal with for standard. Of course, the most recent set came out in Nathria, so that kind of doesn't really match what I'm saying, but it still would add up. Sorry, I forgot to mention this completely. In Wild, actually, Pure Paladin wasn't really gaining value from the Countess or, Zealot, anything like that. It was playing Light Glare. And what Light Glare was is you would have your Myrmidon, which is the 3-mana 3/4, that whenever you cast a spell on it would draw a card. Then you play a lot of Paladin spells, draw through your deck, and then you would play Light Spawn. Is that what it's called? No, Light Ray, sorry. You would play your 0-mana Light Rays and your Arcane Giants and things like that, and you would play it effectively like a Dark Glare kind of deck. But, it's in Paladin, so it's called Light Glare. The deck is kind of playable today. It's not very good. There's a lot of things that it would need to be playable again, but we're never going to get those. Then for Priest, we have Heal Damage Priest. It is a combo deck where you try to get as many of these incredibly cheap and efficient heal spells in your hand. You'll play your Radiant Elemental to reduce your hand's cost by 1 or 2. Then you play Embrace the Shadows first, and then you start spamming your opponent's face with all these heal spells. You do a lot of damage because 1 mana heal 5 is, okay, but 1 mana deal 5 is way stronger than anything else in the entire game. And that's a 2 mana effect at best with Mind Blast, but usually that's a 3 mana effect to deal 5 damage. So doing that for 1 or technically 0 mana with your Radiant Elemental adds up a lot of damage. This deck isn't very good, mainly because, you can't cycle through it very fast because a lot of your spells are necessary for your combo, and you can't really run a lot of cheap early spells to make a lot of your draw work very well. So the deck doesn't function as well as it could, but it is very fun to play. I recommend playing almost all of the decks in this video. They are so fun. Are most if any of them good? Definitely not. They are incredibly, incredibly fun. And for Rogue, we have Even Rogue. So Even Rogue was a meme for a long, long, long time. There's no reason to actually play Even Rogue because your hero power costing 1 doesn't actually benefit you all that much until they introduced Sing Along Buddy and the Poison Blade buff, where it's 2 mana instead of 4, and then Sing Along Buddy, which was eventually fixed, on the 17th. Then you can make it so you can gain additional attack each turn with your Sing-Along buddies. So if you have Sing-Along Buddy and Garrison Commander, hero power twice, you'll gain 4 attack on your Poison Blade. Is that good? Is it fun? Hell fucking yeah, dude. I played maybe 10 games of this before I actually even had the chance to get the Sing-Along Buddy combo to figure out that it didn't work. And that's, why I have my tweet right there, because I'm actually the one that reported that bug. I reported all 3 of those bugs, actually. So, big ups to me. I saved the game, I saved the game. That's all that matters. But this deck is incredibly fun. It's so terrible. You probably will have to play 10 to 15 games before you can get a single win. However, it is really fun to have a gigantic Poison Blade that gets ramped every single turn and hitting your opponent in the face for 10 damage on turn, I don't even know, 7 or 8, with this, 10 attack weapon. It's just so much fun, and I genuinely recommend playing it. On the flip side, you have Odd Shaman. Odd Shaman was actually pretty decent at one point before they removed Wrath of Air Totem from Shaman for a few years. It was actually a quite okay deck. You have things like Spirit Claws to benefit from the spell damage totem you're always guaranteed to get. Getting a guaranteed taunt totem adds up in a lot of matchups as well. And then you have cards like Totemic Reflection to increase the spell damage, or you have Frost Whisper Raws to benefit from spell damage. Having spell damage on demand from this hero power is genuinely very powerful, even if it's only +1 spell damage. Is the deck playable anymore? Not really. Power creep has gone out of control, and even though you can have Wrath of Air Totem back in Odd Shaman, it's just not really playable. It's not I will say this deck is probably not the most fun on the list because it's just so weak. They need to do a lot if you want an Odd Shaman to come back, but it is a fan favorite deck for Wild if you play in this era, so it does. I had to mention it. Then Warlock. I'm choosing discard Warlock. However, it's the weird value-centric style discard Warlock that we had for years. Lakari Sacrifice, Clutch Mother Zavis. I mean, I guess Lakari Fellhound was, from Angoro, but the bigger one would have been High Priestess Jeklik. I should have put that one on here, but I'm not going to do it at this point. So we understand that discard Warlock benefits at its most from being an aggressive, aggro deck, because a lot of the discard cards that were printed in the past are summoning minions or dealing damage to the face or things like that. A value-oriented discard deck makes absolutely no sense, because if you want to have a value-oriented deck, you want to have value-oriented cards. And what do you not want to do to your value-oriented cards? Discard them. That doesn't make sense. You don't want to be discarding them. So it doesn't make sense for discard Warlock to be a value deck. Unlike an aggro deck where you don't really care that much if you discard your 1-drop or your 2-drop. Yeah, you probably feel bad that you're not hitting your high roll and hitting your, Soul Barrage or things like that. But it makes significantly more sense. And then for Warrior, I know I just talked about it in the old Doom Quest video, but Hack the System Warrior, oh my gosh, this kind of deck never made any sense. You're supposed to play cards like Soul Thraze or Armored Goon or cards that benefit from your hero attacking, but everything about it's bad. Attacking 5 times is incredibly hard to make Hack the System go off. Even with Soul Thraze, which Soul Thraze was a terrible card. Soul Thraze is like too much mana. If that card was 4 mana, it probably would have been very good, but at 6 mana, it's just way too expensive. And then Anorfet's Core, if you don't remember what that is, it summons a 4/3 Golem, and it refreshes every time your hero attacks. That's it's also a very bad hero power. There's just no reason to play this sort of attack warrior. You can play weapon warriors where you buff the weapon itself, but playing a deck that synergizes explicitly around your warrior being able to attack what they were going for in this era of Hearthstone just doesn't work, and it's incredibly, incredibly weak. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. What's your favorite one of these archetypes? Are there any other weird ones that you would like me to talk about next? I know I'm going to do another one of these, so you might as well. But I'm also hosting a giveaway for an expansion pre-order for Perils in Paradise. It's a really cool expansion, I'm not going to lie. So, if I were you, I would definitely try and join one of these. I have one for members where if you just become a member, you can be automatically entered. And then I have one for everyone else where if you just comment your favorite Hearthstone card, you can be entered as long as you're subscribed. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again.
Darker than they've ever been. It's evil.